Oh boy, I have been running late. I have been so busy on the last hangout that I had with my Patreon supporters. Rule 13 let me know. I thought that I had turned out a bunch of stories that were making it to production, and I found out that the Gale series was put on hold because they didn't want to use I a whole bunch of short stories that I'd written that had chat logs in them, including they don't want me to use Brent Spiner's letters. They want all my own original work. And I was really upset about that because I wrote a story called The Gods Rape Brent Spiner when Baphomet and Chagpona brutally raped my husband Brent, and I wanted that story to go out fast. So I worked on it. I mean, I had it like a very sloppy first draft. I went in there and reworked it and removed the chat logs and wrote it like a story. And I think I'm pretty sure it's probably going to production or has gone to production now. Sometimes I forget that I am a professional writer. You might say, what do you mean? Well, because I'm not like the typical, most writers in my shoes would be millionaires. What I mean by that, if the Jesuits weren't against me, what I mean by that is that I've got Steven Spielberg is directing the project, okay? Yeah. And I've got top-notch screenwriters like Orson Scott Card, the science fiction and fantasy writer. He's an award-winning science fiction and fantasy writer. He is one of the screenwriters on the project. We also have Melinda Snodgrass, the screenwriter from Star Trek The Next Generation, who wrote the very famous episode The Measure of a Man, which I consider very well written. And then we got an unknown named Jane Agnew, but she has a degree in journalism though. And she was a friend of mine that I became friends with around 2012, 2013, 2014. So yeah, well, I figured these are screenwriters. I know a little bit about screenwriting, because I studied some screenwriting to write my teleplay Law, which got rejected because Star Trek The Next Generation's executive producers, a lot of them, or some of the big honchos back there, were Jesuits, so they would make sure that my writing went nowhere. But the point is, Steven Spielberg is directing, okay? You can watch. I have a feel. So I thought, what? They're on pause? I've been writing like crazy. And she says, well, they can't use it. Rule 13 told me they can't use any of it because you have been using chat logs and they don't want to upset Jesus with your chat logs. That really upset me because I had been writing like crazy. But I thought about it and I thought, you know what? I wasn't angry at them or anything, but I was just so excited because I thought everything was going to production. Plus, Brent, I believe, has been offering my manuscripts to a traditional mainline publisher too. So I'm not, and I'm starting to write out of order. Like I wrote about 10 stories starting with the beginning of my relationship with Brent from 1992. And then I ended with Vladimir Putin Part 1 right after 9/11, which the Jesuits did to keep Brent from marrying me, and how then I just transferred my romantic interest to Vladimir Putin and all the crazy things that happened, and how I ended up filing for bankruptcy in 2002. And that was the last story that I wrote from I would call the 1990s group. Now there still are some stories like in the early 21st century that I want to cover, but now I'm starting to write out of order because I want people to get some stories right now, like what the rape of Brent with with Chagpona and Baphomet, and like Satan at the Supreme Court. None of this stuff's getting into mainstream news or mainstream media, and people need to know about it. And the reason I've been kind of writing out of order is I'm thinking, what if I go? Because I had a close call middle January, okay? these beings that I'm dealing with are really powerful and smart, and so I thought, let's make sure I'm getting my most important stories out first. So I was pretty upset that that nothing was going to production. But then I went back and reread it, and I was thinking, you used to be a screenwriter. You're not a screenwriter. You're not really giving them anything to work with. I would write it in like 2 or 3 days. So yeah, what I did though is, what's amazing though about this is I think I've discovered my writing process. It's actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Yeah. Well, see, after what happened to me in mid-January, the Gale series is now personal for me. Before I just kind of did it because I thought it was like expected of me, because Jesus suggested it, But now it's personal for me. Now I want to write it. Now it really matters to me. I want everybody to know what my values are, how I stand on things spiritually, how I became the woman that I am today, how my men are, and to make it plain that I am not like Satan and his crew. And because they're trying to make it appear like I'm just like him. And so it's become personal for me. And all I can say is I've discovered a new writing process. I was feeling really bad because I had spent a whole month at full-time hours working on my writing, only to be told, actually almost like 6 weeks, only to be told that none of it was going to production. And I thought, oh no, was that all wasted? 6 weeks working full-time hours. And I was feeling so inspired, and I had visions in my mind of all these masterpiece productions coming out. And I needed some time to process the fact that they hadn't used any of it. And I thought, you know what, if I was a screenwriter, I probably wouldn't have used any of it either. So I thought, you know what, you know how to write it. They liked what I did for the 1990 story. So what I'm doing now is, after about 24 hours of mulling it over, I thought, you know what? None of what you did was wasted. You're an intuitive writer. Just think of them all as sloppy first drafts. Basically, I would spend some time in meditation, and inspiration would hit me. Sometimes it would hit me as soon as I woke up in the morning. Then I would jump to my computer and write down the new insight I got into, like a brilliant story that came into my mind. And I was thinking, Gail, the brilliant story is still there. You just need to shape it. So basically all you did was wrote a sloppy first draft, and you expected the screenwriters who are producing your Gale series to know what was in your head, what was in your head, but you didn't write it down clearly so that they could get the vision of what was in your head. You just expected it to go to them like osmosis. So I realized, yeah, you didn't waste your time. Actually, the process of writing the sloppy first drafts was actually like brilliant character sketches. So that now I really understand Satan and his crew. I think I have a deeper understanding of Jesus. Let me tell you something. I was a little scared of writing Jesus outside of chat logs, because I'm worried about the Gail shield going down, But what I think I'm going to do is, when I get to scenes with Jesus, I'm going to if I feel it works with the story, and as long as I don't make him a main character, I think I'll be fine. But I can't totally leave him out of the adventures that I and my men went through, because he was a part of some of them, he was a part of a lot of them, and so I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have to include him because he's part of it. But I won't make him a main character. I will write it like a story. I will use dialogue, quoting what he said. but I won't write it like a chat log. And I might even go into the trouble to describe what he looks like, or his facial expressions, or his movements, kind of like writing a novel in a way. The reason I was kind of reluctant to do this is I was worried about being inaccurate. But I think I know him well enough and Satan well enough that I can just, I can study the chat logs and just pull in bits and pieces of some of the chats if it's applicable to the story. So that's what I'm going to do. I feel really good about the story that I just wrote, that I finished about 2 days ago, The Gods Rape Brent Spiner. I think I did a really good job of writing what happened to me and Brent on January the 15th, 2024. Right now working on the story Satan at the Supreme Court. People may have seen our Skype transaction about that, but I'm going to be going behind the scenes. And one thing that the sloppy first drafts have helped me in doing is they've helped me to figure out what the story is about, what the characters are about, and what the theme is. And this is really important because if I don't know those things before I start the story, I'll botch the story. And I've really figured out a lot of things about all the characters of my life. So basically, I have not wasted my time the past 6 weeks. I'm an intuitive writer. What I have to do before I start a story is when inspiration strikes me, I need to go in there and just write my sloppy first draft. Don't worry about whether it's a writing masterpiece. Don't worry what people think of you. Write the passion, the vision you see in your mind. Like I woke up this morning and I got some really new insights in how to write the story about when Satan beat up Jesus. I was thinking that the stories that are more recent would be easier than the stories in my early life. And so I thought I could just throw them all out, all the screenwriters would need would be the chat logs. And it's turning out that they're almost as challenging as the ones that I wrote in the 1990s. I still have to do research, and I still have to go to the trouble to make sure my characterizations are on cue, and yeah. Well, Brent, my husband, writes very good letter descriptions of what happened. But I said, well, can't I just use Brent's letters? I know that they're accurate. And Rule 13 said, no, they don't want that. That's like chat logs. They want you. They want your own original work. So what I'm going to be doing is like using Brent's letters and then kind of bouncing off from them as part of my research. And I'm going to use a technique very similar to what I did when I wrote my novel Silver Skies, but not completely, because Silver Skies was a work of fiction. And I'm actually writing biography. So I'm kind of like, what I did is I remember how I approached Silver Skies, which is basically scene and sequel, dialogue, character having a goal, and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to be using some of that, like a character has a goal in every scene. Then you've got your antagonist, opposition, action, reaction, and all that. I'm going to be doing all that, but because I'm writing biography, I don't have to stick to pure novel writing format. And if I feel I need to diverge from that, I will allow myself to do that. Yeah. Yeah. And Buddha did tell me to throw out all the writing instruction books. But I have it in my head. I mean, I worked on Silver Skies for like 4 years, so I have it in my head. There are a couple biographies out there that I really like and I admire. Like I have one on the life of missionary Hudson Taylor, and I kind of studied that to get some ideas. I kind of flipped through Truman Capote's, I think they call it In Cold Blood or something. He wrote a nonfiction novel, and I studied him, and I thought, yeah. But I've got my own unique voice, and I am not going to imitate them completely. I've got my own unique voice. I will say this, the time I spent with the 6 weeks, I was feeling really bad about it, thinking, oh, you mean I was all wasted? It is not wasted. I actually found the germ, you might say, for about 10 or 12 stories. And it just means that the final product is going to be really high quality. Yeah. Because I really understand the people in the story. And one thing that's really important for me when I write parts of my life is to determine who the main character is. And then I know how to arc the story. For instance, in the Satan is the Supreme Court character, the main character is Satan. So I set him up at the beginning. I let you know what his goals are. And yeah. That one's going to be written kind of like a tragedy, because he is so off his path, and I'm going to show what a tragedy he is right now. Yeah. What's really ironic is I started off writing these things really angry at Baphomet and Shakpona, and I still don't appreciate what they did to Brent, but I'm starting to get over the anger now and actually feeling a little sad about people like my sister, Baphomet, Shakpona. They are just so off their path. My sister, from what I understand, she now weighs 400 pounds. She is apparently not processing well the death of my mother. So I'm actually going to be writing a story with my mother as a main character. Yeah. And I think it's going to be brilliant. You say, Jesus said to write about you and your men. Well, my mother will be the main character in the story, but I'll be in the story too, and so will my men. But in order to tell my story, in a way, I've got to tell my mother's story. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, and Rule 13's been helping me a lot during the hangout. My mother was a master at the Hindu Kama Sutra sex positions. And she never told me and my sister this growing up, but she actually kind of worked like at a Japanese high-class prostitute house. And I guess she realized she married my father for his money. He was an airline pilot. And her value system was a little messed up. She was a narcissist. And unfortunately, a lot of her, the bad way she raised us kind of messed up my sister. It messed me up too, but it really messed my sister up. So that my sister right now weighs about 400 pounds. I think it's really sad. Yeah. One of the stories that I write, I'm going to try to reach my sister. My sister, I believe right now, is a psychopath. If not a psychopath, she's definitely some sort of narcissist. Yeah, but I think she's actually a psychopath. Hey, Laurie McBride got right, so there's hope for the violist, right? Anyways, I just wanted to let you all know I am due to make a video. I've been very busy on my writing, and fortunately, I appear to be over the infection that I caught mid-January. And all I can say is I do believe that I have not wasted my time with those sloppy first drafts, because I am an intuitive writer. My characterizations going forward are probably going to be sheer brilliance because of that. Yeah. The characters should just bounce off the page. And that'll probably be reflected in the movies coming out, or the television series. Yeah. Because during these 6 weeks that I was working on the sloppy first drafts, some of them were actually like very deep character sketches, where now I have a very good knowledge of who Satan is, who Jesus is. Yes, I think I've got him pretty much figured out right now. And that wasn't easy. Yeah. Who God the Father is. I think I've got a pretty good handle on him too. Yeah. And I figured a lot of the stuff out in the 6 weeks when I was doing my sloppy first drafts. as a result of the research I did and reading the chat transcripts, I was able to figure out a lot of things. You see, can you tell us what they're like? You know, trying to describe a deity, it's better just to write, the best way to do it is just to write a beautiful story or a brilliant story. But show don't tell, like they say. Yeah. It's kind of hard to explain a deity to us humans. Yeah. But a really good, brilliant writer can try. And that's what I'm going to be doing. You say, is it important? Well, the story's not about him, about any deity. I mean, I've got quotes in my sloppy first drafts from Buddha, from the Hindu goddess Lakshmi. Yeah. And I'm going to work those into the stories. Yeah. But I say, yeah, I do want people to understand these deities, though, even if on an elementary level, because I think it will help them to, how should I say this, differentiate between what is righteous and what is evil. So if you understand what a good deity stands for, and what they, I guess you might say, promote, then you're less likely to fall for Satan's tricks and his band. Yeah. So one of the reasons I want to write these stories is to give people wisdom about how to live a righteous life. And it's not an easy task to write stories like that, but as a result of my 6 weeks of frantic first drafts, I think I'm up to the task now. Yeah, and I'm excited about this. I thought I could get everything done in 2 years, telling all the important events between me and my men. But no, if I won't be able to. I have like 103 stories, at least 103 stories to write. Some of them are almost novella length. Yeah, so yeah. This is just going to be probably a lifelong writing project for me, almost. Probably 4 years. That's my guess. We shall see. I'm very busy, but I feel like it's really important to get my story out there and the story of my men. Because Christianity has gone into a transition. It's just not, the Bible was canceled. It's just not the way it was. And I want people to see how I've grown and how I've incorporated aspects of what Buddha has taught me, what Lakshmi's taught me, and then remembering some of the things that Jesus taught me, and how I've kind of integrated all that into who I am today, and how my men have done that too. And then that's all part of the Gail series. So anyways, I have to make a video, and sorry about the delay, but go check 00 on cable. I've just been in writing boot camp, okay? Yeah, and I'm coming out of it. I'm emerging from it as a better writer.
In a world of secrets, where darkness reigns, there's a warrior rising, breaking free from shame.